Shall I help you? Shall I call you? Shall I kiss you? Shall I kiss you? Or shall I buy it? Shall I send it? Etc., etc. The first thing to know is that the expression shall I doesn't actually exist in Spanish. And this actually causes some difficulty to Spanish speakers learning English. So you'll often hear them say, whereas we would say, shall I help you? They may say, I help you. Or they may say, I do it now, instead of saying, shall I do it now? Or for when shall I call you? They may say, when I call you. And that's because the shall I does not exist in Spanish. And you can see just from the examples I've given that the way they do it in Spanish is just by using the present tense. So we say, shall I help you? They say, I help you. I help you. We say, shall I make it? They say, I make it. So let's put this into practice. So, I help is ayudo, ayudo. I help you is te ayudo, te ayudo. So, shall I help you is te ayudo, te ayudo. And you may or may not know that most of the verbs in the present tense, I do something, end in O, so that's why ayudo ends in O. So let's look at, shall I call you? I call is llamo, llamo, I call, llamo. So I call you, te llamo. So shall I call you? Te llamo, te llamo. So shall I call you? Te llamo. How about, shall I kiss you? So I kiss is beso, beso. So what do you think shall I kiss you would be? How would you say shall I kiss you? Te beso, te beso, te beso. So quick recap. Shall I help you? Te ayudo. Shall I call you? Te llamo. Shall I kiss you? Te beso. And how about if it's not you? It might be something like, shall I buy it? Like, do you think I should buy it? Shall I buy it? I buy is compro, compro. And it is lo. So shall I buy it would be lo compro, lo compro, lo compro. Shall I buy it? How about shall I sell it? I sell is vendo, vendo, V-E-N-D-O, vendo. How do you think you would say, shall I sell it? Lo vendo, lo vendo. How about, shall I take it? Shall I take it? I take, or also I pick up. I take is cojo, cojo, cojo. So how would you say, shall I take it? Lo cojo, lo cojo, lo cojo. And what about, shall I fix it? Or shall I repair it? I repair is arreglo, arreglo, arreglo. I fix. How would you say, shall I fix it? Lo arreglo, lo arreglo. Let's add an extra column to this, and let's put in a couple of time phrases. So tomorrow is mañana, mañana, and now is ahora, ahora. So let's try and make a few sentences or a few questions. If you need to pause the video to give yourself time to think, then obviously do so. Okay, how would you say, shall I call you tomorrow? Shall I call you tomorrow? What would that be? Te llamo mañana. Te llamo mañana. How about, shall I help you now? What would that be? Te ayudo ahora. Te ayudo ahora. How about, shall I sell it now? Shall I sell it now? Lo vendo ahora. Lo vendo ahora. And what about, shall I fix it tomorrow? Shall I fix it tomorrow? Lo arreglo mañana. Lo arreglo mañana. Now, of course, in English, we often say, we begin our shall I, question, with another question word like what shall I? For example, what shall I do? What shall I make? What shall I say? Or maybe with where? Where shall I go? When shall I do it? So let's start off with when. Cuando. 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 So when. Cuando. How would you say, when shall I help you? ¿Cuándo te ayudo? ¿Cuándo te ayudo? And how would you say, when shall I fix it? When shall I fix it? ¿Cuándo lo arreglo? ¿Cuándo lo arreglo? How about, when shall I buy it? ¿Cuándo lo compro? ¿Cuándo lo compro? Now, I wonder if you can work out how you would say, shall we? So, shall we help you? Shall we call you? Shall we buy it? The Spanish would say, we help you? We call you? We buy it? Etc. And you may or may not know that we, in the present tense in Spanish, always ends in mos, either amos, hemos, or imos. So, ayudamos, we help. Llamamos, we call. Besamos, we kiss. Compramos, we buy. Vendemos, we sell. Arreglamos, we fix. So how would you say, shall we call you tomorrow? Shall we call you tomorrow? ¿Te llamamos mañana? ¿Te llamamos mañana? How about, shall we fix it now? Shall we fix it now? What would that be? ¿Lo arreglamos ahora? ¿Lo arreglamos ahora? How about adding in when? ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo? How would we say, when shall we buy it? ¿Cuándo lo compramos? ¿Cuándo lo compramos? How about, when shall we call you? ¿Cuándo te llamamos? ¿Cuándo te llamamos? So in summary, if you want to say shall I or shall we in Spanish, you just use the present tense